Hey guys, I'm here today to talk about straddle press into handstand. I get asked about this a lot, and it's a great way to get into handstand. It's way more stable than kicking up, and it's beautiful in class because you can come into it from wide leg forward fold, and it also keeps you on your mat and keeps you safe from other people. This is a press that you should work on if you are stable in handstand for 30 seconds or more and you consistently can get into handstand. So it's not random, you kicking up into handstand. So you're consistently getting it most of the time into handstand. So one of the things that I talk about all the time with handstand, but especially for presses, but all the time for handstand, key importance in handstand is your hamstring flexibility. And this comes into play especially with presses because when we are up in a handstand, our hips are in line over our shoulders, which are in line over our hands. And to get there, it's massively easier if you're already starting with your hips in a higher position. And so I can show you what that looks like from two different sides. So you can think about it pretty easily, right? So if you have a forward fold that looks like this, and you're sort of rounding the back and your hands maybe reach here, maybe here on a good day. In order to get, right, so my shoulders are over my wrists, but in order to get my hips here over my shoulders, they have to work really hard. There's a long way between here and there. So in order to get them there, maybe my hands bend and I jump, you know, probably I kick in some way to get them there, but they got to get there, and that's a long way to go. But if I have a forward fold like this, you can see already how much closer. So the difference here, they don't have very far to go, right? So they're already now almost in line over my shoulders as it is now. So you can see just in terms of hamstring flexibility how much it helps just to be able to forward fold deeper. So the ways you can work on hamstring flexibility are the typical ways that people talk about. I know lots of people, my favorite, you know, Uttanasana, of course, and Janu Shirshasana is really, really helpful. Anytime you're doing those, either one of those, make sure that you're not rounding the back. And that's, rounding the back is fine a lot of the time, but if we're working on this, we want to think about really belly to thigh, right? Really stretching the back of the leg there. But another really effective hamstring stretch is to keep that leg, the bottom leg, either bent or straight. And this is going to help keep your back from doing any funny roundy business. It's going to keep this out of the rest of the body and just about your hamstrings then, and pulling the leg in. So this is a little bit more effective and keeps it more true to the hamstrings. So working on these every day is a really good and effective hamstring stretch. Okay, if you can't reach your hand, you can use a strap or a belt for these. All right, so those are some great hamstring stretches that will really help you. And I know that hamstrings are a source of like discomfort for a lot of people, but do it anyway. If you want to press, do it anyway. It's the key to the press. It really, really is. I'm assuming you have enough strength, because if you can hold a handstand for 30 seconds, which you should be doing if you're watching this video, then you have enough strength to do this. So you need to have the flexibility to match the strength. You should be always as flexible as you are strong. The other thing that you need besides hamstring flexibility is hip flexor strength. And this press needs a little bit of hip flexor strength, not a crazy amount, because it's not really about lifting yourself up with your hip flexors, but you do need some hip flexor strength. So one of the ways, I think I'm cutting off my head here, but one of the ways you can work on that here is with these forward and out and back up, right? And you can hold onto something if you want to, and this will help with this. right? So work on these, and that sort of thing, and working on this hip flexor strength will help. Okay, so let's say you work on those two things, and you want to work on the actual press because that's why you're watching this video, and not just for some exercises. Okay, so you want to work on the straddle press itself. The way I learned myself, the way I taught myself, I watched a lot of videos on Instagram and whatever, and a lot of people recommend a lot of different things. They recommend straps and walls, and those props are great for loads of things. I have walls, and I have a strap that I love, that I use for all sorts of things, but not for press. I don't think the strap is useful for press. And I can get into that in another video, but I don't use it for this. And I used a couch, and not to press my head against, but to put my feet on. And I think if you're working on your flexibility every day, you're working on getting your hips over your hands, which is where they need to be, what you need to focus on after that is pressing your hands firmly into the ground, putting a slight round in your, it's not really round, but what you want to do is really press the ground away from you as much as possible with your shoulders, right? So pressing down as hard as you can, like making yourself as long as possible, and then getting your hips as high as they can. And you can't do that if you're pressing your head into the wall. And you can't really do that if you have a strap on your arms, because what starts to happen is you start pressing out with your arms instead of pulling in and pressing down. So I don't like using either one of those methods. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything necessarily wrong with those. They really didn't work for me. So this is what worked for me. This is why I'm going to teach it this way. So I used a couch. Now, I don't have a couch in my yoga studio because it's on the second floor and I can't carry a couch up here. So this is my pretend couch today. These are my blocks. I don't recommend you using blocks because, as you can see, they're stacked 4 high to sort of imitate a couch. And at 4 high, they're really wobbly. And especially since you don't have a stable handstand press right now, this is not going to be a good place to start. Start with the couch. They're very stable. Couches are stable. You're not going to knock a couch over by standing on it. So to start your press, you're going to start with your hands close to the couch and your feet on the blocks. But to show you what your hips need to do, I'm actually going to start in a headstand. So your feet are going to be wide, let's say, on the blocks, but watch what happens to my hips in the headstand. So the hips tilt, right? They're down, and then they go up. And that is what needs to happen to your hips in the headstand as well, or the handstand as well. So the hips come up, and it's really more about the hip rotation. So the legs need to stay super active. So I see this a lot, especially in people that muscle up. So muscle up, they use a lot of their upper body strength. They bend their arms and they press themselves up into the handstand, which, good job, takes a lot of strength. Let's not do that. Let's instead keep the arms super, super straight and use physics to get ourselves up. Let's keep that line straight and let's rotate the pelvis to get the legs up. So keep your legs just rod straight and let the pelvis tilt to get them up. This is not my pelvis, I don't know why. Tilt to get the legs up. So just like I did in headstand, do that in handstand. It's going to feel weird at first, especially your legs are going to feel like they're made of, I don't know, something really heavy. I don't know my metals. Titanium, is titanium heavy? I don't know. But that's why we start with our legs on blocks instead of on the ground. Probably you've tried to do this from the ground and you got about to here and you were like, legs go, and they don't go anywhere. And so we want to get that, like you can see how far my hips are from my hands. But to get my hips, to give them that head start, we want to get on our couch. All right, so now you can see already my hips are a little bit closer to where they want to be. I want to press, press, press down strongly. And let my legs just sort of float up. Keep them active. Do not let the legs bend. And maybe you pause here, because what tends to happen is that people As soon as the pelvis starts to tilt all the way up, doesn't tilt all the way, but as soon as the legs start to straighten in the pelvis, people lose their balance. So don't be in such a hurry to straighten the legs, especially if you notice that that's what is happening with you. Keep the legs out. Hold your wide leg handstand and just stay there and let yourself hold balance there. Do this. Work on this consistently. Stay at this one level until you can get that consistently every day for a couple days. When you're fine on that one level, getting up, then maybe, provided your housemates, husband, kids, whatever, are okay with it, take the cushions off the couch and start on that. You know, there's that like base underneath the cushions on the couch. Go to there. Press up from there. Work on that until you get it. Until you get it consistently. Not just like once or twice, but every day for a couple days. And then you're slowly like weaning your body lower and lower. Then, maybe then, you can move to one block. And I'm going to tell you, for me, one block felt like massively lower than the couch. When I went from the couch to one block, my body was like, no, no, no. But it works. And eventually, I think I had to go from the couch to the blocks back up to the couch for a while, because I like had to keep switching between the two. Maybe I wasn't ready for the blocks. That's okay. That's kind of how our bodies work. Sometimes they go up and they don't go down. But eventually I got down to the blocks. And then I was ready for the floor, maybe. And it was hard. But if you practice with the blocks, you can also move to books or to something thinner than blocks. There are also these thin blocks out there that I've seen that are not as thick. So what you want to do is you want to wean yourself down on the length. And what you really want to be teaching yourself is this motion of the hips, keeping the legs straight, because they'll start to feel really heavy if you let them bend, and they don't come out, they won't be as easy to move. If you keep them straight, they'll just act as sort of extensions, the femurs out of the pelvis. And that's what you want to happen. You don't want them to be muscling up as well, right? We want this to be about grace and ease of movement, not about pushing ourselves into the handstand. That's not how it should feel. And when it's right, when you finally get it, you'll see that that's not how it feels. It shouldn't feel like a whole lot of effort. It'll feel easy when it finally comes. And it will come. It will come. It looks hard at first, and it seems hard at first, and I know those legs feel really heavy, but I promise it gets easier. Okay, so stretch your hamstrings every day, even if you don't like it. Do it. Do it. And yeah, use your couch. Use your couch. Use your couch. It's really, really helpful. And work on getting that straight line. And it will help you videotape yourself. See if you're getting those hips high enough. See if you're doing that rotation of the pelvis. It helped me also to do headstand right before and feel it in my body, like even close my eyes, feel the rotation of my pelvis, and then go up and do it, so that my body was like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. That was a thing that helped me too. Okay, so let me know any comments or questions you have. Good luck. I want to see you all straddle pressing soon. Okay, all right.